My yarn has absolutely taken over my bookshelves. There's some books in there. All the squares I've made. Patchwork squares, granny squares, corner to corner squares. And now they're stacked 2 layers deep. These are the colors that I've already worked with. Yarn haul from the thrift store. And then it's spilling over into here. And there's my cabinet all filled up again with Mom's yarn. It's so pretty. Hey friends, hi. I don't even know where to start this video. You get so out of practice when you don't sit in front of the camera for like 2 weeks. I meant to have some videos done before I had my dental surgery, but I just I ran out of time, and then I had my surgery done, and here I am a week and a couple days later, and I'm just now starting to feel better. So today's video, I'm going to make it easy on myself, and we're just gonna go through the squares that I've made since the last time I saw you, and I think that was March 14th or 15th. So in the last 2 weeks, I'm going to show you the squares that I've been making. Now, most of these were made before I went to the dentist, and only some of them were made afterwards, because I really did spend a lot of time laying on the couch recovering. Okay, so hi guys, my name is Jenny. Welcome to Granny Square Peg, where we are in the middle of making patchwork squares so we can stitch them together and make a blanket at the end of the year. So the patchwork squares pattern is one that I designed myself. The granny squares are just traditional, and the corner to corner squares are just literally squares made out of corner to corner technique, right? Anyway, well, let's just get to the ones that I've already made. This yarn is Big Twist from Joann's. I found this yarn to be an absolute joy to work with. Not even just with the color choices and changes. It is soft, it is squishy, and it works up really, really nice. So all my yarn here is a number 4 medium weight. For the patchwork squares, I'm using a hook size of an F, which is a 3.75 millimeter. The granny square and the corner to corner square, I'm using a G, and my G is a 4.25 millimeter. So this color is called Warm Brights. All right, and I worked with this 2 weeks ago, and I'm looking forward to getting back to it because I really did enjoy the way that it worked up. So these are my little patchwork squares. And normally I make 2. I make 2 patchwork, 2 granny, 2 corner to corner, and then I move on to the next color. But this time I made 5. Look at them. Look how adorable they are. I just, this Joann's yarn, the Big Twist, I know some people don't like it. Some people do. I'm one of those people who do. I find it to be very, very wonderful to work with. For an acrylic yarn, yeah, it's good. I like how the coloring worked up in this one. So there's my patchwork squares. My 2 granny squares. So my granny squares are 3 rounds of granny and 1 round of single crochet to finish it off. And then my 2 corner to corner squares. 1 and 2. Okay, so while I go through this, I'm actually going to write down how many I have made in the last 2 weeks. I have a little piece of paper here with me, so bear with me. Here we go. I'm using this bin as a table where I'm keeping all my notes. And then this table here is holding all the yarn and all the squares that I've made in the last 2 weeks. Yeah, okay, there we go. All right, so that's 5 patchwork, 2 granny, 2 corner to corner. And I will use this skein of yarn until I feel like I've got enough squares out of it. I don't know if I'm going to use the whole thing or if I'm only going to use part of it. I don't know. I make this stuff, I make it up as I go along, okay? All right, so I'll put that there. And then I will show you all the squares I have on the shelf there. I'll give you my totals. Actually, I can give them to you now because they're actually here on my cheat sheet. Up there on that shelf, I have 216 patchwork squares, 58 granny squares, and make that 60 because 2 of them have the black border that I had done. And the corner to corner, for the variegated ones, I have 51, and for the solid colors, which is that creamy white, I have 3. So all total up there on that shelf, I have 330 squares. Lots and lots of squares. 2024 is the year of the squares for me. I'm going to kick off my shoes real quick. I am doing this old school, and I'm sitting on the floor like I used to do back in the day. All right, next color up, still from Big Twist, still from Joann's. It is called Retro Pop. Yeah. And this is the same. I did 5 patchwork squares. I really do like this retro color. Yeah, I really like that. And that one there. All right, so 5 patchwork squares, 2 granny squares. God, I'm loving this, the way this one worked up in the granny square. And 2 corner to corner squares. Okay, add that to my total. The next color I used for Big Twist was called Happy Rainbow. Is this the Happy Rainbow color? Yeah, Happy Rainbow. I really do need that on a shirt. I needed a shirt, t-shirt that says Happy Rainbow on there. This color was an absolute joy. All right, let's see. 5 more patchwork squares. I liked a little bit of like a neon look to this one. Are they upside down? Ah. All right, and then 2 granny squares. Oh yeah, they're so cute. And 2 corner to corner. How you guys been? Have you been busy? Have you been busy crocheting? Spring cleaning now that it's March. Working every day. All right, so next color is called Rainbow Bright from Big Twist. So it's kind of like the Happy Rainbow, but it's got some black in it. Kind of like the color Blacklight from Red Heart Super Saver. So again, 5 patchwork squares. Like, I designed the patchwork square to be for variegated yarn. I mentioned it in my other videos, and there is a playlist. If you go to my homepage on YouTube, there is a playlist that says patchwork squares, and it's got all the videos in there. There are 2 granny squares, and 2 corner to corner squares. Don't worry about my yarn tails, I'll take care of them. I always do. I'm just not in the mood yet. Okay, so now I'm on to Wildflowers from Red Heart Super Saver. It's called Wildflowers. So I did 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I did 5 patchwork squares. I like this color too. There isn't a color that I don't like, right? But at the end of the video, I will show you my most favorite color. Because, yeah, I finally found one. 2 granny squares. And 2 patchwork squares. Which actually came out really nice. I mean, patchwork, corner to corner. Don't listen to me. I'm still not in the right frame of mind. Corner to corner. Okay, next color it's from Michael's, their brand of yarn called Loops and Threads, and it's pretty sure it's impeccable. Yeah, and the color is called Glacier Multi. I love a really good shade of icy blue, and I think they got this really well done. And it mixed it in there with greens and cream. Really enjoyed this one. Although the skein of yarn is only 3.5 ounces compared to Red Heart that comes in at 5 ounces, so I will get less squares out of this, but for the same price tag. Okay, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 patchwork squares. I like the way this one worked up too. So all my patchwork squares are roughly 3¼ inches by 3.5. I tried to get them completely square, but I couldn't because of the way I crochet. So your squares can come out bigger or smaller if you're using a bigger hook size, a smaller hook size, different types of yarn, or just because you hold your yarn and crochet differently than I do. All right, so with this Glacier from Loops and Threads, I had an oopsie. See this square? I was like, wow, it's color pooling, right? I never could get yarn to do that, but it did it here. Do you know why? Because this one I chained 15 and worked 13 half double crochets. This one I chained 13 and only worked 11 half double crochets. So it's smaller. Did I frog it and rip it out? No, because I wanted to show you we all make mistakes and it's okay. Right? Can I use this square in my blanket? Maybe. But it's just a little too short for me. Like on the end, see the difference? So like, because it's got the same amount of rows, it's got 9 rows, so its height is fine, but its width is a little too short. So I will just stick this in my pile of oopsies, because I have those, and a pile of samples when I'm doing swatches and gauge squares. I will stick it in there and find another use for it. So I won't count this in my total because it won't go in my blankets. But, you know, mistakes do happen. Just roll with it and just keep right on going. So here's my 2 granny squares. And my 2 corner to corner squares. Y'all keep asking for videos for the corner to corner squares. If you know how to do corner to corner technique to begin with in a blanket, it's just the same thing. You just stop at row 6 and then decrease after that, and then you got yourself a nice little square. Easy peasy. Okay, so now I'm on to the Mainstays yarn from Walmart, and this is their pink shades. I did find this nice to work with too, but its thickness, it's a little thicker, so I think, no, my measurements were fine with this one even afterwards. Well, I'm thinking of another one. I'm probably thinking of another yarn that I worked with where things came out a little bigger. Yeah, so 5 patchwork squares. I do like the way this worked up. I do like this color combination, and I was surprised because it's yarn from Walmart. It's Walmart's brand of yarn called Mainstays. But it worked up really nice. It's a little stiff, but it's not scratchy though. I like it. I think it's a decent yarn for its price point and for being acrylic and being sold at Walmart. So there's my 2 granny squares. Somehow this video turned into a yarn review video. And here's my 2 corner to corner squares. I think this color lent itself really well to the corner to corner. Yeah. Okay. So that was 5, 2, and 2. Timing wise, yep, no, I'm good. Did my camera go crooked? Maybe I'm crooked? Nah, I don't know. So another one from Walmart, from the mainstays. This is called Purple. I think it literally, oh yeah, they called it Purple Blend. Let's see. I only did 3 patchwork squares for this instead of 5. But I did still do 2 granny squares. This one looks a little bit busy, I think. The granny square pattern has definitely been lost in there. And 2 corner to corner. So for my list, that was 3, 2, and 2. Oh yeah, it was this batch of Red Heart I was thinking of. Alright, I have Red Heart Super Saver, and they're calling this stripes. It doesn't really actually do a striping pattern. It's called Bonbon Print. So they call it stripes, but it really does not do any striping. See that? That's not... They're wrong. But for whatever reason, even though it's a number 4 medium weight yarn, it's working up a little thicker than everything else I have sitting here in this pile. So these squares actually do look a little bigger than my 3.5 by 3.25. So I only did 2 of the patchwork squares. I did 2... No, my piles, never mind. I did 3 patchwork squares. There we go. Wonder if the cats knocked my pile over. And then there's 2 granny squares. And see, the granny pattern got completely lost in there. But there's 2 grannies. And 2 corner to corner. Now these next 2 colors are very similar because they're both from Red Heart Super Saver. One is Monet and the other one is Aspen. Oh, Artist Print, not Aspen. These 2 are so similar. Just one's darker in tone. So this is Monet. They have been making Monet since what, the 90s? Maybe the early 2000s. But it's been very much a staple in the Red Heart line of variegated yarns, because I used this way long time ago, 15 years ago. Put it in a blanket, in a corner to corner blanket actually. Okay, so I just did 3 patchwork squares. I love the Monet. It's just even 15 years later, it's still a very good color. There's my 3 patchwork squares, my 2 granny squares, and my 2 corner to corner squares. So then of course this next one is Artist Print. And this I was just working with the other day while I was sitting on the couch recuperating. So it's I've only got 2 of the patchwork squares. 2 of the granny squares. I really like this artist print in the granny square. I don't know, for some reason I find that very pleasing to look at. And then 2 corner to corner squares. Yeah, do you know why I call them patchwork squares? Because you know that patchwork usually comes from the sewing community. When way back in the day, our ancestors would use scrap fabric, right? And patch a hole in something, and it patch work, right? And I always love the look of a patchwork square. Just a patchwork, maybe not squares, I mean, because they do it in all kinds of shapes, but quilts that are made with patches, right? I love that look, and I wanted to do it in crocheting, but solid colors weren't quite working for me. And then one day I'm looking at all my variegated yarn, I'm like, you know, the variegated yarn reminds me of patchwork, and it reminds me of the quilts. So would my variegated yarn work in the patchwork style? And sure enough, it did. So I have to pause right here because of my battery real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, so I have some Caron Simply Soft, and I think in one of my last videos I called it prints only because I didn't have my glasses on. It's paints. That's an A. So it's Caron Simply Soft paints, and this is an older version of it. I found this in my local thrift store. Yeah, it says it has a date stamp of April 11th 2011. See, there is the date stamp right there near the barcode. So they don't make this color anymore, but it is all different shades of red, and I gotta tell you, I love that. Ooh, what did they even call it? They called it Sunset. So I found it at the thrift store, and so far I've only made 2 patchwork squares out of it because I was just working on this the other day. I'm still recuperating. There's the granny square, and there is the corner to corner square. Now these are working up a little bit smaller because Caron Simply Soft, even though it is a number 4 medium weight, it's a little on the thinner side of a number 4 medium weight. So these are working up a little bit smaller. So I might keep these separate and put them in a different project. I'm not sure yet, but I am enjoying this color. I like the deepness, the darkness, the richness of this color. I absolutely adore this. So I am going to hit the internet and check eBay and Etsy and see if I can find some more, because it's wonderful. If you guys have any of the Caron Simply Soft in this sunset color, let me know, because I'm loving that one. I was digging into my mom's stash the other day because I took all the stuff that my mom gave me because I had cleaned out. That white cabinet there is where I keep all my variegated yarn, but all my variegated yarn is now sitting on my bookshelves because I've been working with it. So the cabinet's been empty. So I took the stuff that my mom gave me and put it in the cabinet. All right, so that cabinet is filled right back up with variegated yarns, and it's awesome. I absolutely love it. So Mom, if you're watching, thank you for giving me all that yarn. I love it. So turns out my mom had some of the Mainstays yarn from Walmart in the blue color. It was just a little ball of it that she puts rubber bands on, which I think is brilliant to keep it from unraveling when it's in a pile. So I worked up some of the blue the other day. Since this is a tiny ball of yarn and it's not a full skein, I will use all of this just for the patchwork squares. I won't make granny squares out of it or corner to corner squares. I will just make patchwork squares because that's how this project has originally started. It was just using up all these leftovers of variegated yarn, and now I'm using brand new variegated yarns for that. So, you know, it's lost a little bit of its scrappiness, but that's okay. So I only made 2 of the patchwork squares so far, and I'm digging it. So like this, I know it's looking like it's very dark, like it could be black, but it is blue. It's just a dark navy shade of blue. So I add that to my count. Add 2 more. Okay, so for the corner to corner, I am doing that where I'm going to be alternating a creamy white square with a variegated square and then creamy white variegated. You get the idea, right? So when I can, I sit down and I make some solid creamy white corner to corners, and I've made 3 of them to add that to my total. Okay. And then I have this yarn. It is Loops and Threads. It is their version of Caron Simply Soft. It's called Soft and Shiny. And this is a rainbow color. God, they called it Circus, but it's a rainbow color. It is a number 4 medium weight, but again, it's working up a bit smaller. I've only made 2 patchwork squares out of it, and I'm really enjoying the color. But see, it's coming out, even though I'm using the same hook size, it's coming out a bit smaller than my other patchwork squares. Now, normally, like on the width, I wouldn't mind it so much, but see on that height, so this one would have to be stretched out tremendously in order to fit with this one in the blanket. So since it's coming out smaller, I will leave this one off to the side and I will use this in a different project. Probably make a baby blanket out of these since they're coming out so small. And it's so nice and soft. It really is. They call it soft and shiny, and it really is soft and shiny. But since they're coming out a bit smaller, I'll just use them in a different project than my Patchwork Squares blanket. And it'll probably a Patchwork Squares baby blanket instead. Okay, so that's another 2 squares. I'm just counting them because I want to know how many squares I have all together. So this is my favorite color, and I was working on this yesterday. Caron Simply Soft. Yeah. It is called Rainbow Bright. And they are a bit bright, a little bit neon, and it's got all the colors in there. It's got pink, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. Okay. I love this. Out of all the yarn I've been working with and all the variegated colors, this one I think has got to be my favorite. I just went crazy with it. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I made 9 patchwork squares out of it. I'm not sure if I want to do granny squares and corner to corner because I love it so much in the patchwork square. I don't even know if it'll make it into my original Patchwork Squares blanket, if I will do something else with this, but I'm loving the way this is working up in these squares. Oh, you know what would look really good is if I did black squares and I alternated so it would give it a stained glass look. That would be really good. So I've got 9 of these. Oh my goodness, I love those. Aren't they fantastic? Don't you guys wish? Here you go. Can you feel that? Right? Nice, right? I love it. So I think I have 2 more skeins of this. Yeah, I might keep it for a stained glass blanket instead. But either way, I'm loving the squares that I'm getting out of this. So that was 9 more. Okay. I did in the Caron Simply Soft. I was working with it and I come up to this knot right here. Can you see that? Is the camera focusing on it? This is a manufacturer knot. Okay, this is where when they're winding up the yarn in the factory, that they came to the end of their spool of yarn, and then they added in another one. So see how it went from the purple, and then it went to this bit of blue, and then it went to the purple again. I don't like these manufacturer knots. They they usually come undone. And then it also changes where the color placements land. So when I came across this, when I had just started a square and I was like 2 rows in. So when I got to that, I just cut it and took this whole block out and just started with the yarn from the skein all over again, because I really don't like the manufacturer knots and I don't like how it changes. It'll shift where the colors are landing. So I cut it out. And I will cut this knot off. I will throw it away, and then I will use this little bit here. That's just, I don't know, that's just me. So, how many squares have I made in the last 2 weeks, whether they're being put in my Patchwork Squares blanket or not? I've got 59 patchwork squares, 22 traditional granny squares, and 25 corner-to-corner squares. Out of those 25, 22 are variegated and 3 are the creamy whites. Okay? So that is what I have been doing. Now, most of that was before I had seen the dentist on March 21st. Okay, guys, I just went and explained to you everything about what happened with my teeth and going to the dentist. I'm going to cut all that out. It was too much information, and then I feel like I needed to justify why I was having work done. So I'm going to cut all that out. I saw the dentist on the 21st of March. I had work done. I was taking antibiotics. I went back on the 28th, and everything is healing well. I did have a week in there in between the 21st and 28th where I was in a lot of pain, and I didn't do a lot of things except for lay around on my couch and moan about the pain and cry. So I did do some crocheting, but it didn't happen until just in the last couple days when I started feeling better. I go back at the end of April for a consult for having stuff, and I'm just going to leave it at that. Sometimes sometimes it's a little too much information. So I hope you guys are all doing well. Okay, I'm having a hard time focusing with this video. I am a little bit out of practice, and it's early Sunday morning. I was trying to get this done real quick, and maybe I was going a little too fast for myself. I'm still not 100%, so I feel like this video could have been better. You see, I'm having a hard time focusing. I am still very much enjoying making squares. Squares are so simple and so easy and so quick, but they can also, and because of the color combinations, I love a lot of color. So I'm still having a lot of fun making the squares. But I really need to get back to my project pile. If you're new, I am working through a project pile that is full of blankets that are in various stages of the beginning, the middle, the end, or they need to be frogged. I've only made it halfway through my project pile, and I still have more blankets to go. I really do need to get back to it, but I'm having so much fun with the squares, and I even bought more yarn. I have another yarn haul to show you, and I bought a new crochet hook. I need to show that to you. We need to do a video about the sizing of the squares versus the sizing of the beds, so we know how many squares to be making. We have to do a video on the technique of joining them. I crochet my squares together, so I'm actually, that video should be easy enough. I'll use my patchwork squares and I'll sit with my hook and I'll make a little small sampler of how I stitch them together for those who can work ahead and don't want to wait until October and November to do that. So that video is easy enough. But yeah, I just, I'm having a hard time focusing today, but I wanted to show you everything that I've made before I saw the dentist and some of the things I was working on afterwards, but that's only been in the last couple days because I keep this stuff separate so I can do a video for you guys, and then it goes up into the pile up here where I'm counting everything. So that's how I've been keeping it organized. So I want to give a shout out, Sandy from Cincinnati, Ohio. Sandy, I love you very much. Your comments on all my videos. You are a wonderful, wonderful person, and I think you're beautiful, and you are so sweet, okay? And I just wanted to say hello to you personally. Thank you for watching my videos. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for sharing your pets. Thank you for sharing the charity that you donate your blankets to. I look forward to your comments on my videos. So, Sandy, thank you very much. And maybe I'm gonna end this video here, okay? So thank you guys for all the love. Thank you for hanging in there with me. I think you guys are awesome, but you know that because I tell you that. So keep being awesome, and hopefully the next video is about sizing for the blankets, okay? So I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.